Hey yo, hot peas and butter. Tell your mother that you love her. Cornbread and yams. Biscuits and jam. Hey yo, fish and spaghetti. Hey yo, when is dinner ready? Dark sky, full moon. Good vibe, big tune. We stay moving and shaking, making and baking. Over we taking, playing on stations, make reservations, rocking the placing, stages we gracing, energy racing.
International movements, tell me who cool with, don't wanna fool with. Slackers don't do shit, believe in myself. I'm good with my health. Increasing my wealth, I'm peace and I'm felt.
With Pam G.
What's good? What's good? You know what it is. It's the Low for Show. And it's your girl, Pam G. I have a special guest with me today by the name of Chanel. I heard this young lady speaking on Clubhouse and she was telling her journey about a domestic violence situation. But I'm going to let her tell it because no one tell it better than her. How you doing, Chanel?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us. Let's start off with that. Thank you for that.
You are very welcome. Thanks for having me.
So I heard you on Clubhouse and I was just blown back by some of the things that you were saying about just toxic relationships. And I'm not even speaking, and this goes both for male and female. And I just wanted to share your experience with everybody and let everybody know that it is help and you can break through and you can go on and do better things. So for like right now, can you please tell everybody your story?
Yes, absolutely. You can definitely always get out. There's typically a stigma that, once you're in, you're trapped, and it's definitely not the case. Unfortunately there are those situations, but basically, I came out when I was very young, came out like 15. Okay. I met this young lady, I was 18, she was like 32, I believe, and we started dating, and it started off very small, me being 18, new to the lifestyle. This was like my second relationship, so I really didn't have much experience.
And she's woman.
And she started, definitely took advantage on that. But I'm very mature for my age, and so I do tend to attract, the older people, which is totally fine. I'm totally okay with that. But she started alienating me from my family and, making it to where I wasn't hanging around, or I wasn't going to functions or events, or telling me like, oh, your friends really ain't your friends. You need to stop talking to them. Like, they would call our house, she would hang up the phone, or she would unplug the phone, and they would text me like, I just called, why'd you hang up? And I would not know. So, and that's basically how it started. Then it started with, degrading, calling me stupid, saying I was fat, and, and things like that. So back then, I was a dancer in the adult entertainment industry. I started that right out of high school, and that is how I made a living. I furnished our house, I got our apartment, all of that stuff. When the money that I was making, I essentially took care of her, and she did not work. So anything that was done came from me. It got to a point where she started taking my money. At the end of the night, like, I would go to sleep, she would take it. The first time, I don't even remember what it was that she put her hands on me. We got into an argument. I remember in the kitchen cooking spaghetti. Why I remember that, but nothing else, I have no idea. But I was standing at the stove, and I was mixing the stuff together, and next thing I knew, she took and put her hands around my neck and like flung me up against the wall and slid me up the wall. It took two people to get her off of me. I actually saw her black out. Like, it was like nothing. Like, I looked in her eyes and I saw like no life. And one of her younger nephews was like 3 or 4. And I remember him running in, hitting her, saying, no, auntie, put her down. And he started screaming, and that's how everybody basically ran into the kitchen. And at that point, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. This is not going to be a thing. I grew up witnessing, someone very close to me getting beat and abused and verbally and physically. And I was just like, that's never going to be me. I refuse to do that. And so I went to go start packing. She took a bottle of prescription pills, took them all, grabbed a 6-pack of beer, and left. It's like February. I live in Columbus, Ohio, and so it is very cold during that time. So me and her sister ended up going out to look for her. And then she cut on herself. So then it derailed from me packing to leaving to trying to, take care of her. And then from then, it just escalated.
So basically getting ready to leave, and she grabs some pills and a 6-pack, and she goes out in February when it's cold and does things to herself. Did you say she cut on herself?
Yeah.
Was that her way of trying to keep you, possibly?
Yeah, I feel like that's what it was, because that's essentially what ended up happening. I still did leave, but I only left for like a weekend. But I still ended up staying that night because I was tending to her. So then the focus shifted from what she did to me and how I felt to now I'm taking care of you, making sure you didn't just commit suicide. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, very manipulative. Very aware of that now.
Well, when you're in it, you don't really see it, so.
Correct. Not at all. And, again, this was only my second relationship. So I had no idea that these things were, or how they looked when you were actually in it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, honestly, it just kind of progressed from there. I was with her for roughly 3 years and some change, and it got very bad. I had a knife to my neck. She had put a gun to my head, and I lived in fear a lot. Was it a fear of leaving, or just besides the fear of your life and your well-being? Did you have a fear of leaving? I did originally have a fear of leaving because she always popped up. So if I left and said, it's going to be a girls' night out, going out with some of my girlfriends, we're going to go and hang out, it would be a problem. So it got to the point where I wouldn't get dressed at home. They would pick me up and I would get dressed with them. And then we would be out at the club, and then she would show up, and then it would be an argument. And she would threaten to fight me in the club. I'm not that person, and I don't like embarrassment and stuff like that. So I would just leave, So it just became a lot. And then she would pop up at friends' houses. And, I'm just making sure you're where you said you was going to be. Like, what? I don't understand. Like I said, I was here. I'm here. Even if I went to, my grandmother's house, she would call me when you get there. If I didn't call, she was calling. And my grandmother hated her. So my grandmother would do things like, no, she's not here. But I had to tell her, like, you can't do that because then that's a fight. And that's how I ended up telling her, I was in that situation. And she became absolutely livid about it. I had been beat out in my sleep. It was very toxic. It was very draining. I think what really did it for me was the last fight. She literally locked me in a room, and I literally thought I was going to die in that room. She grabbed me by my hair. She was punching me hard in my face. Like, I was feeling and hearing things pop and snap to the point where, like, I was fighting back. But then I just ended up, in a ball, like, screaming to the top of my lungs. At this point, it's like, somebody help, anybody. I didn't care. Somebody called 911 because the apartment that we lived in, there's people to the left and right and upstairs. So these are like flats. I'm like, somebody hears this. Somebody has to hear this. And she slapped the whole left side of my face. So actually one of the reasons that I wear glasses now is because of this situation. I ended up getting a regular job, and not to say that dancing isn't a regular job, but I needed faster income because I was then strategically planning my exit. I could no longer save money at the house. Somehow she would find it. She would take it. She'd take the money out of my wallet, and the only free that I had was going to work. So I got this job, and I started diligently planning. I would, take money, give it to friends that I had at work, here, put this away for me, here, hide this, or someone would come and meet me, here, take this, you know, and I started slowly putting money to the side. And then one day in October, you know, everything just kind of went to the head. I told her I was going out with some friends, and I left. She happened to have showed up at the club per usual, and we got into a fight. She punched me in the middle of the dance floor in front of everybody, and security called her out. I happened to be there with my best friend, and her girlfriend was there that night, and they fought her while another set of my friends took me and pushed me into a car and dropped me off to somebody else, and then they took me somewhere else. So it was, you know, we didn't know that it was going to go down that night like that, but that's just kind of how it went. And that day,
that was the universe telling you time's up. It was telling you to go on about your business.
Yep. And that was the last time we were together. Like, I left and I just never went back. She ended up getting into my bank account. She locked me out of my bank account. She locked me out of the gas, the electric. She super glued the mailboxes shut. It was so much stuff that transpired after that. She called and threatened my life at my job. They put the whole campus on lockdown. She was leaving threatening voicemails to my supervisor's phone. To this day, I can't even tell you how she got that number. Because I didn't even have that number. So I'm like, they pulled me into the office and I bawled. It was so embarrassing. It was like, so we need to know what's going on, because I was not telling anyone. She emptied out my apartment. She cut up all my clothes. Like, she destroyed absolutely everything that I had. And at that point, it was, you know, I knew then when it went down in the club, I was like, if I go back, she's going to kill me. One of us or both of us will end up dead tonight. And I could not go back, and I didn't.
So you basically
we still don't speak.
You start over.
I'm sorry, you said what?
I said, so basically you, from that point on, you never seen her again? You started over?
Yeah, I started over. I mean, there were still definitely messages that I was getting, you know, from her, that she was, you know, still trying to get in touch with me. She created this whole elaborate story at one point that she had either gotten jumped or beat up, whatever the case was. And that the feds was at the hospital and she wanted to see me. Like, literally, somebody called my phone and it was this weird number, and I answered and they were asking for me. Like, it was a guy, sounded very professional. He was saying that he was with whatever division of whatever, and I was like, what? What? Why? And, you know, telling me, you know, I need you to come up to the hospital. She wants to see you. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not happening. And then they put her on the phone and she was saying, like, oh, I have cracked ribs and this, that, and the third. And, like, it was this whole elaborate plan to try to come get me. Like, for me to come there, because she wanted to see me. But I knew that if I went, that was it. I knew if I had seen her or she ran into me, that it was going to be a problem. I knew that I was going to be fighting for my life. And I just did not, as much as my heart wanted me to, because I did still love her, but I knew that this was not a safe situation for me. And at that time, my mom had already lost a daughter. My baby sister had passed away. So, you know, we were still dealing with that, and I was still coping with that. And I'm like, I can't allow my mom to bury another child victim. I have to go. I have to stay away. I got an apartment with secure doors and codes and, you know, and things like that. Like, I never went anywhere by myself. It was dark. I didn't go out unless it was a group. And, you know, so I was very strategic about everything that I did. Literally, my life turned into one of those Lifetime movies. And it was absolutely heartbreaking, but it allowed me to reevaluate a lot of things. And those signs that we always see that we just kind of disregard, like, oh, they're just upset, or oh, it's just this one time.
Yeah, because the way you're describing it, like right now, like the first thing I see is, you know, what I not see but hear is control. That's the first thing that comes to mind, is control. The fact that you said she alienated you, I'm like, okay, alienated, she controlled. I'm like, nah, this don't add up. And then just want to know your whereabouts all the time. Like, I understand, like, I love my wife, you know what I'm saying? And I'd be like, yeah, just text me, or, you know, just let me know you made it safe. I don't
right,
call.
that's different.
You know what I'm saying? I don't call and be like, hey, I need this. I need to know that. I need to know. That's not, no. So like control, that was like a red flag. But like I say, when you're in the situation, you don't normally see. But from the outside looking in, other people around you were probably saying something to you, were they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My best friend was like, I don't understand what's wrong. Like, why are you not leaving? And I think that's a lot of the misconception, because even though we are in these situations and it gets to a point where we are fully aware that we are leaving, it becomes our safety. Because 9 times out of 10, our family and friends have been threatened. We've seen certain actions and we know what they're capable of. So they no longer, everybody lives in a box, essentially. And that's probably the wrong wording. But basically what I mean is, for example, you and your wife, y'all have been together, y'all are married. So in your mind, you know the limits of the things that your wife may, can, will, and possibly ever do. Okay, we have that with everybody, whether we know it or not. Certain things, if somebody told you your wife went and did this, this, and this, and you gonna look at them and be like, man, you lying. She didn't do that, because you know her.
That don't even sound like that. Come on, man.
That's correct. You know what I mean? So we all have that for everybody. Right. So when you get into a domestic violence situation, they have now blown up that box. Because the second that they do the very thing that you thought was outside of the realm for them to do, even within that, nothing is off limits. So then you don't know what they'll do. So when I left and she did, all of the threatening and calling my job, I was like, there's no limit. So then she threatened to set my grandmother's house on fire with all of us in it. There's no limit, because now you don't care. You've been served at your job the papers for the protection order. Like, it didn't even, because usually there's a temporary protection order, you go to court, and then they set you another court date. No. With everything that judge had in front of her, she issued it that day.
Wow.
Period. There was no temporary, there was no nothing, no, y'all go serve her. And they couldn't get her at home. So I ended up getting a phone call from the sheriff's office. Where does she work? We need this delivered today. We've already made 2 attempts. She's getting this today. And they took 2 squad cars and went to a job in Exarchos. I got a phone call that day. And they told me, if she calls, you call me. So on top of that, then there was additional charges placed because you just blatantly disregarded what you just got served. She didn't care. And people like that need help. And there's nothing that we can do to ever love them enough to make them stop. They need actual help. And we get caught in these scenarios. Sure.
Did you feel like when you got together and you seen that side of her that you could possibly change her? That this wasn't her? This was like a one-time only kind of thing? Did you feel that way?
At one point I did feel that way. It was so after the first time, that was it for a very long time. I think maybe 6 months, maybe almost a year went past before the next incident.
Okay. So a one-time only type thing then, okay.
Correct. It wasn't until after that second incident that things escalate. To a very more frequent. And honestly, the third time it happened is when I knew that we had a problem. Because the third time it happened, she had moved me out of town. We were out of town helping her mom and staying with her. And I got a job, and I don't even remember what she got mad at me about, but she locked me in the bathroom at her mom's house and beat me. I had to go and start my first day of work the next day, and I had to go buy makeup. And I remember looking through all of my MAC stuff, trying to get this covered up so they couldn't tell at work. If a guy spoke to me, she got livid. If somebody stared at me, she got angry. And so I became very closed off. I stopped being bubbly and happy and outgoing. That's just me. That's who I am. I like to crack jokes. I like to have a good time. and I started shutting down. And when that happened, I mean, it got to a point where she was dragging me outside and throwing my stuff in a dumpster. B, I will kill you. F you. I will throw you in the river. And it's like it's like January. I remember being really, really cold. You gonna freeze to death. Ain't nobody gonna find you. And it was then that I was like, oh my gosh, I am with somebody who is like, this is her. Like, I don't know who this person is I've been with up until now, but like, this is real life. Like, this is really happening. Like, she is legit abusive. Huh, okay. But then I'm in a city, in a town where I don't know nobody. I'm stuck. And it would be, you won't make it to the cops if you think that that's what you're going to do. And I knew it. And when she said it, I knew it. With the look that she had on her face, like, I knew that I would not have made it to get the help.
And you felt the fear that she would do something to you, cause you bodily harm, as far as death.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew it was a problem when her mom never even said anything. We're in her mother's house, and her mom sat on the couch and smoked her cigarette.
That was going to be my next question. That's wow. I don't like to judge
and I was
people.
like,
that's fucked up.
Wow. Isn't it though?
Mama sitting on the couch and she ain't say shit either.
Nothing.
That might.
All she said is, I don't want to hear that, man. That
might low key run. You know what I'm saying? In the family, she might have seen that shit somewhere in her growing up, while her mother would probably sit there and listen to or even entertain any of that stuff in the house. Because I know if I even tried that in front of my mama would come slap the shit out of me. Like, girl, what the hell?
Listen, okay? If I tried that on anybody in my family was around, I'd have got beat up.
You know?
Oh, what is we doing? We don't do that. No.
Exactly.
It would have been shut down. Like, even when she swallowed the whole left side of my face, it was me hearing and seeing and watching the reaction. Because at that point, then it's like, wow, I felt trapped because I don't have nobody to talk to now. I can't talk to any of my friends for real. I would literally sneak and call friends, like, to touch base, to check in. Like, oh, I'll go to the store, and I would walk to the corner store, and this is back in the day of prepaid cell phones and T9 texting. You know what I mean? We had pay phones. And I would sneak and get some of my money or have it on me and get quarters real quick and call and make random phone calls real fast. Like, hey, I can't talk. I'm good. I'll try and call you back. I would call friends. I would call my mom, a couple other people, my aunt and them, and, and stuff like that to let them know, because other than that, I couldn't talk around people around her, because she would sit there and she would give me this look and my heart would beat out of my chest, because if I said the wrong thing, if I said the wrong name, I've been on the phone and she would literally snatch the phone out the wall. You got me effed up. You think you just about to sit here and talk on the phone like that? What? This is my house and I pay the bill. Now we fighting. Now she's throwing stuff. Now I'm throwing up against the wall. And, and stuff like that. So it was very toxic. It was very traumatic. We are 15 years later? Almost 16, somewhere around there. And I still suffer PTSD. Arguments instantly trigger my anxiety. My nerves are really, really bad. Loud noises, jar me. I don't like things around my neck. I'm claustrophobic. I have a set of about three reoccurring dreams that started when we were dating. That I will randomly get that will instantly re-trigger me. It took me a very long time to get to a space where I forgave her, and it was freeing for me. One of the last time that I saw her, I went to go see my godchildren, and she is actually their aunt, and their mom called me I'll take that back. We were in the house, and she had this look on her face when she got off the phone. I said, "What?" She was like, that was her. She said her name. She said she's on her way. I said, all right, I'm leaving now. She said, you don't have to. I said, no, I'm leaving now. You call me when she's gone, and when she's been gone for 30 minutes, and I'll come back. And she said I think she was in the neighborhood and happened to have rode past and saw an unfamiliar car. Because again, she hasn't seen me in years at this point.
Okay.
So she didn't know, but I figured she assumed. And when I left, she was at the end of the street and pulled up right in front of my car and jumped out. And she walked up on me trying to, talk smack. And I kept trying to open my door. She kept closing it. At this point, I always carried mace. And I had good mace. I had friends who were like bouncers and stuff. So I had SWAT grade mace.
Okay.
Specifically because of her. And one of them gifted it to me. I took the cap off and I flipped it around just in case. And I think my goddaughter knew. She never saw it or anything. But I remember her coming down, standing at the steps and in the door, and she wouldn't move. And she was like, G, you okay? You okay, G? And I said, yes, baby, I'm fine. Go back in the house with mommy. She said, no, you okay? And I said, yes, baby, go in the house. I said, go in the house. I made her go in the house. And I said, I had to close the door. And I've always been very protective of them and not allowing them to see or hear, these types of things. And she went to tell me how you not going no fucking where, I will beat your ass and blah, 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 blah. And something, I don't know, something triggered something. I felt a shift and something in my chest changed. Like I stood up, and I said, let me tell you something. The Chanel that you knew is gone. I'm not that girl anymore. You will move away from my car. I will not tell you again. We're not doing that no more. So if you have something to say, I suggest you say it. Other than that, move. And she looked at me, and her eyes got big. She took a step back, and she just nodded and walked away. I've never had any problems with her since. And that was it.
I cannot even imagine coming back to a situation and you haven't seen each other in years and still have the galls to actually act like that. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, definitely not all there, And the sad part is I've heard that she's gotten married and, she's been in trouble with the law for beating her current wife. I mean, I'm assuming she's still a current. I don't know. I don't, people try to tell me things. I'm like, oh, I really don't care to know. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, that's the past.
I don't.
That's done and over with.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And, so, you're married and all these years later and you are still putting your hands on somebody.
So,
and it doesn't make sense.
Have you, done therapy? Have you seek therapy?
Yes, I've gotten therapy, actually a few different times for it. Like I said, I've been diagnosed with the PTSD for it, and I mean, that just doesn't necessarily go away. But, overall, I'm fine. There are times where a certain smell will trigger me from something back then. I used to love these Izzy Miyake incense back in the day.
No, you can't.
And oh my gosh, they were so good. Loved them. And I can't burn them anymore. I don't buy them. I can't smell them because it takes me back to there.
I can see how a certain sense to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just like, we have people that we've been with, and, and something smell, and you think of that person, you like, phone comes on, and, oh, I remember when, I mean, the same things still apply.
Wow, your breakthrough, and you stood up for yourself. That was like the climatic moment. You stand up for yourself. Where did you go from there? After you stand up for yourself, you don't, because it sounds like from that point, you didn't consider yourself a victim at that point when you basically took your life.
No.
Yep.
I took my control back. At that point, I became a survivor. I overcame, and I felt completely and utterly unstoppable. I went back to school for business management and marketing. And I started living life. I started traveling. I reconnected with all of my friends. And, even my best friend, we've been best friends for over 22 years now. And her and I had, we would still stay in touch, but we got back to how we used to be. We talked, if not every day, multiple times a day. We took trips together and things like that. Started a cosmetics line. Actually, I named it after my sister.
What's the name of the cosmetics line?
Her name was
Oh, go ahead.
It is called Delisa. You're fine. Delisa Beauty Cosmetics.
All right. And,
Yes.
I mean, and where can we find these cosmetics at? Like, give me your info on the cosmetic line. We definitely want to get you some.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So you can find me on my actual website. It's delisabeauties.com. So that's DELESA Beauties, BEAUTIS.com. I sell unisex products as well. I am also on IG, and that's Delisa Beauty Cosmetics, LLC. Yeah, so I do vegan, cruelty-free products. You know, everything is moisturizing and nourishing for the body and your skin. You know, I've come to get to a point where, you know, how you care for your body is very important. The things that you put into your body, the things that you do to your body, it dictates a lot. So I focus on that. My online store has definitely become synonymous with quality and a variety of fantastic products. Everything that I make has different variants, but basically all of the same base products. So I use coconut oil, almond oil, shea nut, grapeseed, avocado, apricot, lots of vitamin E. Our bodies need that. And aloe vera.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, for the juices and berries. I like
yes, we can have the juices and the berries. It's a requirement. I mean, that's what we came from, though. You know, before, you know, times changed and things like that. You know, us as a culture, that's what we did. We took and made products from the earth. And that's why we have this glowing skin and these long, curly locks or these big froze and, you know, and things like that. Like, that's who we are as a people. And it's time that, you know, I feel that we tap back into those things and give our body those nourishment that we need to get where we want to be.
I think it's definitely a shift going on right now in the way of people thinking, because like everybody I know now is talking all black everything. So
absolutely.
So I'm definitely down for the cause. And I definitely am so excited, and I want to thank you for sharing your story, because that your story can basically help empower a woman or a man that's in a situation of domestic violence, point blank. I mean, you had a breakthrough.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm happy you were able to share it, and I'm happy you came out the other end of this with sound body and mind. Because a lot of people still, you know, would still be in that situation, and it's hard for them to leave. But you got out, so that's definitely
you know. I mean, it takes a village. It takes people to be understanding, and when that person that you know makes that call and say, "Hey, now," it don't need to be whatever. Ain't nobody doing that. I done done that the last time, and you went back like. It could be that one call that's the difference between life and death. And I'm very thankful that I have, you know, genuine people around me who care. And when that SOS went out, or, you know, in those calls, and I didn't necessarily even have to ask, because like I said, it happened and I was out. You know, everybody just immediately jumped into action, like, no, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, try not to, you know, judge us harshly. If I could give advice to people who, you know, witness and things like that, but you have to be there and you have to be supportive, because we deal with so much when we are going through those types of situations that it takes a lot to even ask for help, because we're so scared and not wanting harm to come to those that we love. So we basically sacrifice ourselves and our well-being. So just be mindful of that, and always lift that person up, and, you know, be sure to tell them this is not your fault. You deserve better. You are worth more, and stuff like that. So that's very big. That's very important, because it's constantly getting talked about. So to have someone else tell you, man, you stupid for saying that's just dumb. I don't get it. You won't get it until you're in it. And a lot of times we don't want to be in it, but that's where we're at the moment. But you can always get free.
Well, and I'm gonna end it just like that. y'all heard it right there. Like I said, Miss Chanel, thank you Thank you. I'm gonna holler at you a couple more seconds offline though. Hey, this is the Low for sure.
Okay.
southsideradio.live. It's your girl Pam G, and I hope that this helped someone out there somewhere. Y'all keep it locked to southsideradio.live.
The Low with Pam G.